Good afternoon, coaches. Please help me give a very warm New Mexico welcome to Coach Richard Pitino.
Thank you. That's a proper introduction. We don't need to talk about anything in the past. Thank you guys very much. When I was asked to do this, I don't know when it was, a month or two ago, it just felt nice because we've all been away from being able to do these things for far too long. It's been obviously for everybody. I know what you guys go through. I was once a high school coach as well, and I'll give you a little bit of my background. But I know it's a unique job, but a special job. And what you guys do, you don't get enough credit. So thank you so much. I've been able to meet a lot of you guys over the last 4 months. You got an unbelievable pride, obviously, for what you do, which is great, as well as for the special state. So a little bit about my background and how I got here. In 2001, I met a high school coach who changed my career. His name was Mike Hart. He was a head coach at St. Andrews in Barrington, Rhode Island. In the summer leading up to going to Providence College, I thought I wanted to be a coach. But I just didn't know at the level, because growing up, my dad obviously was a Kentucky coach. At the time where I was making some difficult decisions of what I wanted to do, he was the Boston Celtics coach. And so I knew I wanted to do something in coaching, but I was not sure where, what capacity, what level. And when Mike Hart, I met him over the summer at a basketball camp, he said to me, hey, if you want to be a coach and you're not quite good enough to play at the highest level, which I was not, why don't you be my assistant coach at St. Andrews? And so I said, sure, I'd love to do that. I was a college freshman like everybody else in college, but the only difference was I was getting up early in the morning and volunteering to go be a high school coach. It was an unbelievable opportunity for me. The things that you guys endure, I felt that, obviously, for a couple of years. And, there's so many positives to teaching the fundamentals of the game. And that's where I really got the bug. And then the next 2 years, I got an opportunity to be the video coordinator, basically, or a student assistant for Providence College. We had a really good team that went to the NCAA tournament. Ryan Gomes is a terrific player for us. Went to the NBA for a while. But I just still felt like, okay, I think I want to go the college route. And when I graduated from college, I was lucky enough to get the operations spot at the College of Charleston, which is a beautiful place. Absolutely loved it. Was there for a couple months and then got offered right before the season a full-time spot, one of the 3 spots where you're allowed to coach, you're allowed to recruit, at Northeastern University in Boston, where I was from, where I was with not my wife, but who is now my wife at the time in Boston. And so I jumped at that opportunity, was lucky enough to coach a player by the name of J.J. Barea. Anyone know him? Who's in the league for a long, long time. About as tough as, he's as tall as me, and he is fearless, he is tough, he's a competitor. And that's when I kind of understood what a great player looks like. Was there for 1 year, working for Ron Everhart. He ended up leaving and taking the Duquesne University job in Pittsburgh, and we all went with him as a staff, and, it kind of snowballed from there. I was there for 1 year, learned a lot, through a lot of adversity of building a program, and then my father had an opening at the University of Louisville, and he didn't want to give me the job, I don't think, at the time, because he didn't want me to be handed something. He was very, very big on you got to earn everything. And, the more and more that I talked him into it, we had an unbelievable experience. For 2 years, I was his assistant coach. We were the #1 team in the country going into the NCAA tournament. We were the #1 overall seed. We had 2 lottery picks on the team. And I remember it was my first taste of New Mexico basketball because my second year there, my memory is so horrible, but I believe RB would know. I think we played in Portland, right? We played the Lobos, and Y. King Jones was a guy on our staff at the time, And he had come from New Mexico, and I couldn't believe the fan base. And I said, wow, this place is crazy. And now I've lived here for 4 months, and it's solidified my thought process that this place is crazy. I do know it's crazy. But it's just unbelievable, the support. Well, I ended up, after that year, we went to 2 Elite Eights in a row. And my dad, or Billy Donovan, who worked for my father, said, Coach, I need an assistant coach. And my dad recommended me. And I said at the time, I said, well, why would I do that? You know, I mean, I'm at the University of Louisville. I'm with my family. I'm with friends. You know, I'm comfortable. And my dad said, exactly why you should do it. Get out of your comfort zone. And it was the greatest decision I ever made, was to go be an assistant coach for Billy Donovan at the University of Florida. Was there 2 years. Went to an Elite Eight again. I went to 3 Elite Eights in a row as an assistant coach. Ended up going back for 1 more year as the associate head coach for my father. We went to a Final Four. I helped build a team that won a national title. It was a great run. I had an opportunity after we went to a Final Four to be the head coach at FIU, which is in Miami. And, you know, I got the call I was 29, I think, at the time, and they offered me the job to be a 30-year-old head coach. And I said, you know what? Great opportunity for me to build a program while nobody's watching. FIU is a cool place. It's in Miami, but it's not like here. They don't have a great fan base by any means. It's kind of a commuter school. But I thought, you know what? I think that I can recruit to Miami. I think that I can recruit throughout the country. Kids will want to visit this place. But we had a lot of work to do. The year before I got there, they had won, I believe, 3 games. And I thought, okay, and my mom's got an unbelievable expression that she always says to me, make a plan and God laughs, right? We've all heard that. Well, I thought I'd be at FIU for 6, 7 years, build a program, you know, make some mistakes on the fly when nobody's watching, which is very valuable, I think, for all of us coaches, just to, you know, figure this thing out without cameras on, right? And so we went into the season with no expectations, none. And I'll get to the point where I try to lower the expectations for the Lobos in a little bit. But, you know, we had won 3 games at the time. Well, we ended up winning 18 games. We ended up going to the conference tournament finals. We were a basket away from going to the NCAA tournament. And I never, ever, ever saw that coming. Never. Special group of kids, tough, gritty, fearless. That's what we need to build this program back up. Well, I remember a funny story and kind of a crazy story, but after we had had a really good year at FIU, Louisville at the time was in the Elite Eight to go to the Final Four. Does anyone remember Kevin Ware, who broke his leg? Anyone remember that? Played for Louisville? Well, so I went to the game. It was in Indianapolis, and I recruited Kevin. I recruited a lot of those players who went on to win the national championship at the time for Louisville. Well, Kevin, you know, we're at the game, and Kevin snaps his leg. I mean, it was one of the more horrific things I've ever seen. And I was legitimately here, you know, to 20 feet away. And it happened, and Louisville ends up beating Duke. It was a great game, but it was a somber moment because of Kevin Ware's deal. Well, my dad after the game said, well, why don't you stay after? We can go out to eat and, you know, have a glass of wine, celebrate, and then let's go see Kevin in the morning. I said, sure. It was the off season. We see Kevin in the morning, and, you know, it's amazing the way doctors talk about these things. The doctor talked like it was a sprained ankle. He's like, we just snapped his bone back. You know, I'm like, oh, my God. Like, but we see him, and then we go to drive back to Louisville. And when I talk about the greatest decision I ever made was to go work for Billy Donovan, I'm driving on the highway with my dad, and a buddy of ours is driving. My dad's in the back sleeping because, you know, just won to go to the Final Four. We may have stayed up a little late, right? Well, Billy Donovan calls me, and if I didn't get out of my comfort zone, I never get this phone call. And I'm like, what's up, coach? He's like, hey, I think I just got you the Minnesota job. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you know, you sometimes think about these jobs that are on your radar that you may want. Minnesota was never on my radar, ever. He says, Norwood Teague is the athletic director. Norwood hired my last 2 assistant coaches. Shaka Smart, who's now the head coach at Marquette, went to a Final Four at VCU. Anthony Grant, who's now head coach at Dayton. He said, he's just looking for somebody who I think fits your profile. And I said, okay. I said, he goes, he's going to call you. I'm like, all right, coach, thanks. And Billy's just a very direct, like, he's going to call you. Don't screw it up. Good luck. See you later. Bye. So I'm like, okay. So my dad's sleeping in the back, and I said to my dad, I said, hey, Dad, Minnesota's going to call me. Should I take that job if I can get it? And I remember it like it was yesterday because, see, everybody thinks that my dad runs my program for me and tells me everything to do. And he kind of opened up one eye and he said, if Minnesota calls you, you take the job. Who the hell do you think you are? And then he went right back to bed. And that was the last I spoke of Minnesota to him. So I ended up getting the call, spent 8 really good years there. Very, very grateful. And, you know, we talked a little bit, or I talked a little bit about, you know, doing this job when nobody's watching and learning a little bit. Well, now all of a sudden I go from at FIU, and now I'm coaching in the Big Ten. And I'm coaching in a major media market, obviously in the Twin Cities. And I remember getting there and just kind of thinking, okay, I don't really know what I have with this team. Well, we ended up winning the NIT in my first year. We won 25 games, which was a record for wins in school history. It gets a little bit funky because they had some vacated wins and all those things. But had obviously a really, really good first year. And I remember telling my athletic director at the time, you know, I don't know if we're quite there just yet. This is going to take some time to build. And we dipped a little bit. And my third year, we won 8 games. I'm not bragging about it by any means, right? We won 8 games. And I remember telling my athletic director, I promise you we're going to be really good. And then the next year we bounced back and we won 24 games. We had 2 NBA players on the team. We were a 4 seed, I believe, 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. And my point to you about this is it takes time. It takes time to build. And you know, you've got to trust the process. You just got to stay the course, which I'm proud of our guys to do. And we had some great years. We had some ups and downs. You know, quite frankly, I wasn't able to get the consistency that I needed. And I know a lot of you coaches, you know, some of you have told me you're doing it 25, 30 years. I'm amazed by that. I'm amazed by that because it's so hard to be good every single year. My 6th year at the University of Minnesota, we go back to the NCAA tournament. And, of course, I'm sitting there, and we're a selection Sunday, and they tell me, who are you going to play? And I don't care who we play. I'm just happy to be in the NCAA tournament. And, of course, they put us against Louisville. And it was a big story at the time. We ended up beating them. Our best player got hurt versus Michigan State. We ended up losing them, and then kind of COVID hit like you guys all experienced. I don't make one excuse about Minnesota. I'm very grateful for the opportunity that I had there. There's things that we did really, really well. We had back-to-back players go to the NBA out of our program. That's never been done there. I mean, they haven't done that in forever. We had the top transfer in the country left to go to Texas out of our program. Did a lot of really good things. But, you know, looking back, I remember I'm sitting there going, all right, and the athletic director from Minnesota at the time is still a good friend of mine. I mean, he calls me like once a week, which is kind of weird because he fired me. But we're still good friends, and people ask me all the time. Everybody always wants to know, you know, because I'm 38 years old, I've been fired. And they all want to know the same thing, like, what would you do differently? And honestly, I don't know if I would do a whole lot differently. One thing that I'm very, very grateful for, and I'll kind of give you a little bit of a background on the thought process on New Mexico was, I kind of knew, and you just always kind of know, towards the end of Minnesota that there was a really good chance that I was going to be let go. I mean, it was just such a weird year with COVID. We had 2 starters out, and there just wasn't a whole lot I could do with all the injuries. And once again, towards the end of my deal, Billy Donovan calls me, and he says to me, Eddie Nunez is going to call you. And I said, okay. I said, I met Eddie before when he was at LSU, and I knew that he had played for Coach Donovan and knew he had worked for Coach Donovan. And I said, New Mexico. And I had been here one time in my life. And that was when Louisville beat West Virginia to go to the Final Four in the pit. And I remember the crowd, I remember the arena, and I remember how special it was. And I knew that I wanted this job. You know, the reason why I wanted this job, every coach does the same thing. They sit around, I know certainly in our sport, and they say, okay, what are the best jobs in the Big Ten? And what are the best jobs in the Big 12? Well, the Big 12 may not exist anymore, or the SEC, right? And the ACC. And I know that New Mexico is one of the best jobs in the Mountain West. I know that for a fact. So when they called, it was a little bit weird because I still, had the Minnesota thing lingering a little bit, and I wanted to move fast with it. But I told my wife, I said, listen, if they offer me the job, I'm going to take it. Yeah, I could have sat out a year and still gotten paid. It wasn't about money. My dream of being at a job that was one of the best jobs in the conference was about to come true. And when I met with Eddie and we kind of went over what it is and what a championship program looks like, because quite frankly, Minnesota is a really good place and I loved it. They haven't won a championship in a long, long time. In order to win a championship at Minnesota, you probably need to change the job, which I obviously was not able to do. What we need to do here happened 7, 8 years ago. It's not like it happened 30 years ago. It's very clear that it can be done, and it can be done in recent times. No disrespect to the people that always tell me, well, I was there when we won it 30 years ago. It's just a different time. I was walking through, my family just got into town. Just yesterday, I went and picked them up. They had been kind of in transition a little bit, and I was showing my son, Jack, who's 7 years old, the practice facility, and he's looking at the pictures, and all of a sudden my wife goes, well, I didn't know Tony Snell played in New Mexico. The fact that my wife knew who Tony Snell was like, all right, that's kind of cool that my wife knows who Tony Snell is. And then my son goes, wait, Drew Gordon, is he related to Aaron Gordon? Which I know he's not, but you have to have a brand. New Mexico has a brand. Pretty cool thing over the last couple of weeks. We were finally able to go recruiting. Finally, which we, like you guys, we haven't been able to do a lot over the last 16 months. Well, I was able to go on the road recruiting. And when I put the New Mexico shirt on, it felt weird, right, when you're at a place for 8 years. And all of a sudden, the first tournament that I go to, which is in Phoenix, Arizona, a coach comes up to me and he says, and this is a God's honest truth, he says, Coach, I'm so-and-so. I coached in the pit. That is the most special place I've ever been. And I've been in the business for 30 years. And I said, well, thank you. I appreciate it. Because, at the time, I'm moving to New Mexico. I don't know. I'm like, what is with this place? The whole deal, right? I love it. I'm not saying I don't love it, but it's a little different, right? So all of a sudden, another guy comes up to me and says, hey, I coached at New Mexico. He now coaches at a bigger school, so to say. He said, that's the best, most fun I ever had in my life. God's honest truth. It has happened consistently every single place I have been over the last month in recruiting. So I know how special this place can be. A lot of people have come up to me over the last 4 months and said, we love our basketball. I said, yes, I know you love your basketball. Please stop. That's like a passive-aggressive way to say, you better win or we'll run you out of town as well. Right? I got it. I understand it. I grew up, my dad was a coach at Kentucky. But I sit here and I go, okay, we talk about brand. I need the fans, and not you guys are coaches, but I need you to continue to be crazy because all the recruits know that. And that's what makes it special. Every kid that I call, the reason why I took New Mexico and why I was a little bit frustrated at the time at Minnesota, and a lot of that was my responsibility, was I didn't make it a national brand. I didn't. It's hard. It's hard to change the brand. Well, New Mexico, especially with California and Texas and Arizona, which that's going to be a lot of our footprint, so to speak, for basketball and recruiting, they know about it. I was just in the parking lot talking to a recruit who's going to visit at the beginning of September, and he goes, oh, I can't wait to see the pit. I know those fans love Lobo basketball, and I know those fans love the Lobos. Well, that's why I took the job. That's why I took the job. Every single day I go to make calls, and, our offices are, in our practice facility are really good, but we're all kind of next to each other. We're on top of each other. I always walk out to the pit to make my calls, and I always look over that building because I sit there and go, I cannot wait for this place to be full again. I cannot wait because it drives, not only does it drive, all the sports, but I know it drives this state. I know it drives this state. And every coach that I've spoken to who has coached here said, I always ask them the same thing. I would say, is it real? Is the fan base real? Is the home court real? they go, it's bigger and better than you ever thought it was. So I am so excited to get this back. I must caution you, we won 6 games last year. That's not a lot of wins. And 2 of them were not Division I wins. It's going to take some time. I'm really excited about the direction that we're going. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I know Danny Gonzalez spoke to you guys earlier. He's building it as well. It's one of the reasons I wore shorts, because I knew if he was speaking, I can wear shorts because he always wears shorts. But he's building it the right way as well. We're going to get it done. The way that you get it done is through recruiting. And the way you get it done is hiring a great staff who's in alignment with what it is that you want to do. And I talked about the geography of where we want to recruit to. Certainly, we need to live in Southern California. We need to live in Texas. I'm blown away by how many good players there are in those areas. Arizona, from a prep school standpoint, is booming. Obviously, Phoenix is growing. So there's a lot of players coming out of there. The Mountain West has a great brand, especially on the West Coast. Kids want to play in this conference. The staff that I hired gets that. They understand that. They've got experience. They've got a confidence level about them. The good part about the summer was we were able to work with these guys for 8 weeks. There's some really good kids in this program. Some left, which is fine. Normally when there's a coaching change, that happens. We brought in 8 new players. It's not conducive to winning when you're bringing in 8 new players. That takes time. And as you guys all know, we're young, we're new, but they're really, really good kids. They work their butts off. Please, if you guys ever want to come to a practice, just call the office. I'll never say no. I want you guys to be a part of it. I know how important this basketball program is to all the coaches in the state. So please don't hesitate to call. We're an open book. There's more people. I've had more people come to my practices in 2 months than I did in 8 years at the University of Minnesota. So you will feel welcome. There's always people in there, but that's what makes this place special. From a recruiting standpoint, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the guys that I brought in, and then if there's any questions about anything, I'd love to answer them. But, like I said, we brought 8 new players in. And one of the unique things about not only sports, but the world is it's changing right now drastically. And one of the biggest rules that changed specifically to college basketball and obviously in all the other sports is the one-time transfer rule. You used to have to sit out a year if you transferred. Well, now, if you haven't transferred before and you want to transfer from Arizona State to New Mexico and you don't want to sit out, you can do that. And New Mexico's always had some really good transfers in the past, but everybody's taking transfers now, everybody. A lot of that has to do with we weren't able to see high school seniors. Well, now we can, so I think we'll be more apt to taking some younger guys and building more so than constantly taking transfers. But we got a bunch of them. Jalen House, as I mentioned, Arizona State, terrific player. Played a good amount for Arizona State. Wanted an increased role. We needed a guard right away who could come in, make an impact. We believe he'll do that. Much like me, he's the son of a legendary player in Eddie House from Arizona State, played in the NBA for a long time. Very excited to coach him. He's dynamic, unbelievable speed. He will have the pit on their feet by the way he plays defense. I've never seen anything like it. There's certain guys that are just natural shooters or natural passers. He is a natural, unbelievable defender. And I didn't teach him any of it. You guys know in coaching, it's the hardest thing to teach is defense. Well, he was born with that, and it's unbelievable. He can change a game with his defense. Jamal Mashburn Jr., something that we don't see a lot of anymore in today's world is loyalty. And, well, Jamal Mashburn Sr. played for my father. And at Minnesota at the time, I recruited Jamal Mashburn Jr. to come play for me. And he was probably our top guard off the bench. We had some injuries towards the end of the year, and he started a bunch of games. And when I was let go at the University of Minnesota, Jamal Mashburn Sr. said, well, we signed up to play for you. You just let us know where you're going. And this was before I got the New Mexico job. I said, well, Jamal, let me go visit the place first and see. And he said, well, that's fine. Don't worry about it. I got the job. I went out here and I said, listen, I called Jamal and I said, we've got high major facilities. We've got a championship commitment level. We've got a great town. We've got great academics. We've got great resources. You need to come. And simple as that, he decided to come. I think you'll be one of the better guards in the Mountain West. He's just tough. He's disciplined. He works his butt off. He's just a no-nonsense kid. There's no fluff to him. You know, he's got great substance. So I think our fans are going to love him. Really, really good player. Taryn Todd is a transfer that we took out of TCU, another high major program. Taryn's a terrific player. I called a former Lobo assistant, Ryan Miller, who you guys probably all met before. And first thing he probably did was for about 25 minutes, raved about his time at Albuquerque. And then I said, can you tell me about the player? I don't want to hear about Albuquerque anymore. But I get that all the time with people who've worked here and lived here. And Taryn is just a kind of a combo guard, versatile guard, really good at getting to the basket, very good defensively, could score the basketball. Just another really good transfer get for us. Sebastian Forsling will be here a couple of weeks. He's a foreign kid that has not been here yet. And obviously, it was a little bit challenging getting him here in the summer to do summer school because of COVID stuff and so on. So he will be here in a couple of weeks, a big kid, very, very skilled. Love what I saw of him on film. I just can't wait to see him in person to really work with him, but I think he'll be an impact guy as well. Barima Sek is probably the tallest kid on our team and maybe the fastest kid on our team. Out of Arizona, out of a very good prep school, has a little bit of a hand injury. He'll have 4 years with us, but I think he's got unbelievable potential when he gets cleared. I've really liked what I've seen on the court from him. Jethro Muscadin, Jethro, I recruited very, very hard at the University of Minnesota. Came down to us, Kansas State, Texas Tech. He ended up choosing Kansas, and when he decided to enter that transfer portal, I called him right away and said, you know what I think of you. And he's been very, very impressive since he's been here over this summer. Very impressive. I think he could be an impact guy down the road as well. KJ Jenkins was a junior college player that I've been very, very impressed with. He's just a skilled player, just knows how to play basketball. Expect him to make an impact, to really, really shoot it. Maybe one of the best shooters on the team. And Jay Allen is a transfer from us. Salt Lake Community College, who's 5'4", who's been very, very impressive as well. So, I'm excited about the team we're building. But 8 new players, a lot of new things to learn. The summer's been really good to kind of lay the foundation of what it is that we want Lobo basketball to stand for, which is acting the right way, being early, showing the respect to people that they deserve, going to class. We want gym rats. We want guys who, they want to come here and get a degree, but we want you living in the gym. The beauty of this program is they know how much this basketball program means to this community. That's great. That drives them. That drives me. That's what makes this place special. They understand that. So as we hopefully ease on restrictions and COVID, we can get out in the community and do more, which who knows, maybe we won't. If you turn on the news these days, you never know. But we want to be out there. We want to be a part of this. We want this community to feel our program and get to know these players, get to know our coaching staff, because it is the reason I took this job is because of the special city, because of the special state, and how much you guys care and what you expect of us. And we understand that. We don't take that lightly. So got a lot of work to do. We'll let them go home. We're wrapping up workouts this week. We'll let them go home for a couple weeks, and then obviously it's right back to it. I'm excited about football to get going. The more people come to football games, it helps everybody. You pack that place. We have recruits on campus, just like all the sports do. Get that campus jumping again. It'll be some fun times for us all. So we're going to make it special. We're going to get it back to where the Pit is one of the toughest places to play, and not just in the Mountain West, but in all of college basketball. I truly believe that. It's a special brand. We know you care. Please come to the Pit. When we start back up again, please come to practice. You're more than welcome to. I know how hard this job is. The beauty of high school coaches is We all go through the same things. We all go through the same things, and I respect you guys so much for what you do. I know it's hard. We all have our challenges, but we're very, very lucky to be called coach. That is a special title where we can impact people's lives every single day, and I don't take that lightly. So I would love to answer any questions you guys have. I think I'm wrapping it up. Hopefully I didn't bore you and put you to sleep. If not, yes, sir. Right. So the question was about team camp. Team camp is very, very important to us. Day camp is a different, that's like babysitting at times, right? It's very, very important for us to get you guys there, have a great experience, build relationships with you guys. It's the best time to do it. I also think it's a way to throw you guys a bone because it helps you guys out, quite frankly, because you get to work with you guys and coach them and all those things. So the question was, will we bring team camp back? 1,000%. We want you guys back in our facilities. We want you guys back feeling a part of it. I haven't been able to really decide yet because of all the COVID stuff, but that will be something we'll dive back into for sure next summer. I am open to any suggestions about it. How many games you play or so on. I know some like to just play 2, maybe on Saturday or whatever, but we want to do it right. So that is definitely, we've had conversations about it. We just didn't want to do it this summer because of all the COVID stuff. But for sure, we'll get it back going. Anyone else? Yes. What do your coaches and myself look for in a recruit? Well, it's funny, the more you talk to recruits, they kind of reveal themselves a little bit on what's important to them. Quite frankly, as you guys all know, we'll go right to the social media page, and it's not real hard to figure out what's important to them. They're not real good at hiding it, right? So we want people who love basketball. I think that sports can bring you a lot that doesn't matter, right? Whether it's attention, whether it's social media hits, whether it's, whatever, right? I want people that love the sport, not what the sport brings them. I want people who are competitive, who hate to lose. We're for whatever reason, society's moving in a direction of winning and losing doesn't matter. Yes, it does. It does matter. Winning matters. We want guys who are dying to win, fiercely competitive. We want people who think that basketball can take them. Everybody thinks they're going to play in the NBA, right? Not everybody's going to play in the NBA. But we want you to play for as long as you possibly can. Yes, we want you to get a degree. Every kid that has played for me who has stayed in college has gotten a degree in 9 years of being a head coach. That matters. But I want you to play. It's a game. I want you to play it for as long as you possibly can until somebody tells you, don't play anymore. That TBT tournament, I was giving those guys crap. I'm like, you guys better stretch, man. A lot of you guys are looking old out here. But it was awesome to see because they love the game. They love the game. There's plenty of time to get a real job. The red flags are when guys want promises. Can you guarantee me that I'll play 35 minutes a game? I always tell them all the time, one of the first things I do when I meet with the team is I write on the board, we're on the same team. I want you to make every shot you take. Every shot. I'm cheering for you, man. There's never a time I don't root for you to go get 50 points. I don't care. As long as we win, right? Well, they need to understand that they're part of a team. And I'm not going to promise one guy in that locker room. I'm not going to promise one recruit because it never works. It never works. The good part about recruiting now is, like, the Zooms are all good in theory because you can just do it from your basement. It's not the right way to, it's like hiring somebody. Like, we need to get in front of these guys. We need to spend 2 days with them. We need to get to know them, see what makes them tick. I want to high level of toughness. You know, the beauty of coaching in the Big Ten is for 8 years, I mean, I get to stare down at Tom Izzo. And nothing he did ever was, I never took a play from him like, I'm going to run that if I get another. No, but you knew when a shot went up, if you didn't block out, somebody was dunking on you, right? Or if you didn't get your defense set, they're running on you. A high level of toughness. And guys that are about the right things and they're in alignment with everybody in that locker room. Yes, sir, in the back. How do you define roles and how do you get them to buy in? Well, that's absolutely the number one most important thing, quite frankly. It starts in the recruiting process. That's why you can't BS them. You can't lie to them. Because if you have a locker room full of 13, 14 guys that you've lied to, and you've told this guy one thing, you've told that, they all talk to each other. They all talk to each other. And they all say, what did Coach tell you? And what did Coach tell you? Coach told me the same thing. Because nobody's been promised anything. I'll start a freshman over a senior. If they can help us win, I don't care. So when you define and when you build a program, and to me, it's about trust. All the things that we talk about in a family, you know, because it's family on three, right? Everybody does that. Well, you're not going to lie to your wife. You're not going to lie to your kids. And if you do, you're just hurting them in the end. So when you talk about defining roles, I constantly, like I'll have meetings with our guys this week. This is the last week of summer school. And I'll tell them exactly what I think. I'll be, hey, you know, I don't know if you're going to play a lot until you fix this. Or, hey, you can be this if you do that. But the bottom line is, because the power is being taken away from the coaches a little bit, right? But I told them, there's one thing nobody will ever take from me. It's the power of playing time. I control that. Nobody else does, right? And if you do this, I'm going to give you a chance. And every single day in practice, you can show me, but you got to build that trust on the basketball court. You have to define, and this is something I needed to do a better job of in Minnesota, was there's got to be an absolute clear-cut standard of what it is that you're trying to do all the time. When you play New Mexico, this is what they do, and it should not be confusing. If it's confusing, you probably don't have a good team, right? Well, when I was at Minnesota, our best team, we were a high-low offense. Everybody knew it was coming, and it didn't matter. We were good at it. And we were going inside out. It didn't matter. We were good at it. Every team, if you're good, has an identity. So that's what the summer is all about. That's what the fall is all about, is building that identity so the teams know when they play New Mexico, this is what they get. And when they play that certain player, that's what they get. Yes. "100% it's important to recruit in-state. One of the reasons why I took New Mexico is I know that this university is very important to the state. I know how much they care. So it's very, very important that if there is a player that is good enough, and also not just good enough, but fits into the culture of what we're trying to do, you better believe we're going to recruit them. So we're going to make sure that if there's somebody that can help us win in this state, we're going to recruit our butts up because, again, we know how important it is to the state. We know the coaches care. I mean, this turnout is unbelievable. We know that the families care about this university. So, yes, we have to do our job there. And we've got to make sure we start young with them so that people are not coming into our state and taking players that are good enough to play for us. So, absolutely, we will recruit in state because we know that if there's a kid good enough and we call from the University of New Mexico, we know that it's a big deal to them. Anyone else? Yes, sir. So he asked about, kind of the big push of AAU versus high school. Well, the problem, I don't know if it's a problem, but with high school basketball versus AAU is if I go watch a game, a high school game, normally just a regular high school game, maybe not one of those prep schools that's been loaded up, right? There's maybe one or two high-level Division I prospects on the court. You go to an AAU game, there's about 10 to 12. So the competition is really good, really good. But you don't have the feel of with your high school team. What they've kind of tried to move away from, because obviously a couple of years ago there was that whole FBI recruiting scandal, they're trying to give high school coaches a little bit more time with them in the summer. Some of you high school coaches love it. Some of you hate it. It's messing with your golf games, right? I don't blame you. I think it's a good blend. I would like the high school coaches to certainly have access to them. I don't know why we're taking away access. I just don't get it. If they're not with us, they're probably doing something else that's not right. I mean, we're in alignment with what it is that they want. We're just trying to get the most out of them because, quite frankly, if we want to be selfish, they can help us win. That helps us. So I don't think AAU is the devil. The problem is, quite frankly, is you have shoe companies that are funding AAU programs, and that's where the trouble lies. So how do you fix it? God, I don't know. I don't know, because those same shoe companies that fund the AAU programs also fund the college programs. So you better believe that a Nike team would want that Nike prospect to go to one of their top schools. So, year-round basketball, I don't know. Some of it I love, some of it I don't. I try very, very hard to let my assistants do, some of the workouts in the summer, because it's a long, long season. They will get burnt out. But I think all of us coaches know, we know how to pull back. But we have their best interests at heart. I know you guys do as well. Yes. Yeah, biggest mentor, Billy Donovan or my father. Both for sure. People ask me a lot, what did you learn from either one of them? I would say my dad, and hopefully you guys will all meet him. I mean, he's one of the fiercest competitors I've ever met. It doesn't matter, what you're doing. He's going to try to beat you. And that's awesome. It's just I marvel at it every single day in practice. And he just taught me that, just keep pushing, keep going, keep pushing them. Hold these players to the highest standard possible. Hold the staff to the highest standard possible. Nobody better at motivating. Nobody better at, getting guys who weren't great players to believe, and all of a sudden they became great players. I mean, just a phenomenal motivator. And a great belief. When he's walking out of that locker room, he now coaches at Iona. He thinks he can beat anybody in the country. He thinks they're going to the Final Four. He really does. He believes that. And that confidence is really cool to see. Billy Donovan, totally different. Totally different. And I said before, one of the best decisions I ever made was taking that job at Florida because, you're growing up. You think your dad does everything right, and he, everything he teaches is right, and everybody should listen to him. And as you know, as you're a coach, and if you're a zone coach, Jim Boeheim has shown it can work, right? If you're a pressure coach, there's a way to do that as well. When I went to Coach Donovan, I saw a totally different way that was his way. Even though he played for my father, coached under my father. And it just taught me that, you got to be comfortable with what it is you want to do. And you know what? Somebody may believe that you switch ball screens, fine. Somebody may believe you hedge ball screens, fine. Just have a belief in what it is that you're doing, be confident in it. So those two obviously were major influences in my life. But there's coaches in the game now that I would consider, I always tell my dad he's too old. I don't listen to him anymore. Or Coach Donovan's getting up there. But, I speak to Mick Cronin a lot, who's over at UCLA a lot. He's been very helpful because he kind of wasn't from out west and took the job. He's been, a very good mentor to me. Mark Few at Gonzaga. I remember, Coach Few hates every job. He thinks they're all horrible jobs. And I remember when my name popped up for New Mexico, I was in the Chicago airport, and I got a call from Mark Few, and he said, you got to take that job. I said, really? And he said, because I thought he was going to call me and say, you can't take the job. And he said, no, that place is special. They care about basketball. That is a basketball town. and he talked a little bit about the high desert living and all that stuff, and he was great talking to him about it as well. So I've been lucky. I mean, I've had 9 years of head coaching experience, and I'm only 38. So I'm young, but I still have great experiences, and I'm always eager to learn. I don't have all the answers, so I'm always trying to pick all those coaches' brains. Maybe it may not even be basketball, maybe other sports as well. Anyone else? Yes. How do you deal with high-level players to play team ball? Well, it's kind of what I talked about before. Every player is self-absorbed. Every player is going to think about himself first. Let's be honest. Nobody's not concerned with themselves. Every person in this room, including myself, is self-absorbed, right? I mean, that's fine. But you got to make it crystal clear to them of what the standards are when they get to your program. And if you don't live up to those standards, you're just not going to play. And you got to be clear on it. Now, you got to also that doesn't mean that everybody has the same rules on the court. There's certain guys who I'm going to let shoot more than others because they're better shooters. So, you got to build, I just think you have to build trust. If they trust you, if they're crystal clear on what the mission is, they'll follow you. If there's confusion, if they don't trust you, if they feel like I'm telling you one thing and all of a sudden an assistant's telling, it normally goes awry. So being very, very clear-cut on what the expectations are, I think is very important. And you know what? You talk about high-level players. The best players I've been around, they want to get better. They want to get better. So if they believe that you can get them better, they'll play hard for you. Yes. Standards you set. Well, the standards that we set for our program certainly are the off-the-court stuff. Like if you're late for a class, if you're late for a study hall, if you're late for a tutor, we'll see you tomorrow morning. We'll find out about it. We'll see you tomorrow morning in the weight room. That's non-negotiable. I don't care why you were late. I don't want to hear the story. I really don't care. And if it continues to happen again, that problem will be fixed. Those things, those standards you have to lay out. From a basketball standpoint, we all have our philosophies, but my biggest thing is stay within kind of the framework of what it is that we're trying to do and not make it about yourself. Where I really, really struggle is because again, everybody is self-absorbed. I really do believe that. But if we win, you'll get noticed. If we don't win, you're not going to get noticed. It's going to make you look bad. You can't do it yourself. You can't do it yourself. So, you got to be clear on what it is you're trying to do defensively. Like one guy can't switch and one guy's got to get over. Like you have to be clear on that. You have to be clear on what it is you're doing in transition defense or what the rules are in rebounding. So the behavioral stuff, everybody knows what the standards are. And then in practice, I always ask my assistants, like in meetings, do you know the answer to what it is we're trying to do here? And if they say no, that's my fault. Like they got to know. And then if the players don't know, it's the coach's fault. So I think it's just when we coach, having an understanding that it's your responsibility to make sure they understand what to do. And if they don't, you got to hold them accountable. Anyone else? One or two more? If not, I know you guys, it's a nice day. It's always sunny here. I mean, I'm moving from Minnesota, so I'll take this. Well, perfect. Well, I appreciate it very much. I know it's been a long day for you guys. Like I said before, if you want to come to a practice, call the office, tell them that I spoke, obviously, and where you guys are coming from. We have an open door policy. I respect, I appreciate what you guys do, probably more than you guys know. I know it's a special community. I know it's a proud community. I'm honored to be a part of it. I'm honored that you guys would ask me to do it. So hopefully we meet you guys soon at the pit, and it's a special time. I think for all the Eddie Nunez, what he's doing as the athletic director, the coaches that he's hired, and the passion in this city and in this state. It's not too many places like it, so I'm grateful to be a part of it. So thank you, guys. Have a great day, and go Lobos. Thank you.